It's probably quite fair to say that the older a game gets, the less people are interested in playing it, either because the hardware required becomes legacy itself, or a newer, shinier title comes out to take its place. Very often, the servers that some classic games rely on are shut down due to lack of interest, and if there isn't a dedicated enough fan willing to pick up the mantle and create a new one, some titles are forgotten into the annals of time. This isn't always the case, however, as there are scores of games from yesteryear whose fan bases aren't ready to give up on them quite yet. There are, of course, the obvious long-running MMORPGs such as World of Warcraft that are still drawing audiences in their millions, but what other games from years past can players still boot up and enjoy alongside a bustling community? Well, let's have a look at some, shall we? I'm Ashton from TripleJump, and here are 10 classic games that still have an active community. Number 10, RuneScape. Back when we were all in secondary school, it seemed like every nerd and his dog was playing RuneScape, but it turns out that's not without good reason. For those unfamiliar with the MMORPG, the idea is to explore the world with your player character. Players start out in a secluded area where they're taken through the basics, before being unleashed onto the world to do whatever they'd like. There's no set storyline, so it's up to the players to make their own fun, which can be done by training their skills, embarking on quests, and engaging with other players and NPCs. Since its release in 2001, RuneScape has amassed a whopping 250 million accounts created, and though not all of those are still playing the game, it's estimated that a community of over 1 million subscribers and many more free players continue to regularly log on to trade, chat, and fight monsties. RuneScape is so popular, in fact, that in 2017, Jagex, the studio behind the game, were awarded a Guinness World Record for the most users of an MMO video game. And though Dungeon Fighter Online and Fantasy Westward Journey claim to have more players than that, they haven't been able to produce receipts. Better luck next time, chaps. Number 9, Demon's Souls. It might be hard to believe that it's been over a decade since the punishing difficulty of Demon's Souls was unleashed onto the world, but it's true, so that puts it into classic game territory. Prior to its release, very few people were excited about Demon's Souls, with some mistaking its challenging nature for just being a bad game. Fortunately, minds were quickly changed following launch, and around the world Demon's Souls was met with critical acclaim. Players become a hero brought in to kill the fallen King Allant, and pacify a dark being known as the Old One. This could be done in single-player mode or via online multiplayer, which allowed audiences to both cooperate and fight against each other. Originally, publisher Atlas USA had planned to shut down the North America servers just 2 years after Demon's Souls' release. However, this was repeatedly put off and they remained live until February 2018. Their closure meant the loss of the game's online functionality, so whilst the game is still playable, there's no more PvP, messaging, or world tendency mechanics. Don't get upset just yet though, as a small group of the game's fans were on hand with a brand new server, allowing the community to continue slaying tough baddies to their heart's content. Number 8, Age of Empires 2. There aren't many games out there that can boast huge popularity over 20 years after their initial release, but it seems that Age of Empires 2 has figured out the secret formula for staying relevant even after 2 decades. Originally released in 1999, Age of Empires 2, or Age of Empires 2 The Age of Kings if you want to get a full title about this, is a real-time strategy game in which players must gather resources, build towns, and create armies in order to ensure their civilization is the one that comes out on top. It was released to universal critical acclaim, and within its first 3 months on shelves, Age of Empires 2 had shifted a jaw-dropping 2 million copies. It's unsurprising then that the fans are reluctant to let it go, and over the years the game has seen a steady trickle of expansions that have introduced brand new civilizations, maps, campaigns, and gameplay modes. The game has also been ported to the PS2, remade in high definition, and remastered as recently as 2019, with the game receiving a surge in popularity due, in part, to the COVID-19 pandemic. Considering that the most recent expansion launched in 2021, it doesn't look like we'll be seeing the back of Age of Empires 2 anytime soon. Number 7, Warhammer 40,000, Dawn of War. If you like the idea of playing Warhammer 40k, but don't have a steady enough hand to paint all the tiny figurines needed to undertake the hobby, then you might be pleased to hear that the video game version Warhammer 40,000 Dawn of War is still alive and well. For those either unwilling or unable to part with the huge bundles of cash necessary to get into its tabletop brother, Dawn of War provides a similar real-time strategy experience for less than the cost of your average takeaway. The aim is to capture and hold strategic positions on a battlefield, which is done using the player's infantry units. The control points offer resources to the player, allowing them to construct additional units or buildings, or unlock part of their army's tech tree. All you need to do to win the game is to hold on to your control points for the allotted time, or to destroy your opponent's HQ structures. It really really is that straightforward. I kid, obviously there's a lot more to it than that, but you get the gist. Since 40k's original release back in 2004, developer Relic Entertainment has released 3 expansions and 2 sequels, each of which has been incredibly successful, but in spite of all the updates, players keep going back to the original to this day. Number 6, Quake 3 Arena / Quake Live. Described upon its release in 1999 as one of the best deathmatch shooters ever made, Quake 3 Arena remains a popular entry into the genre and is still played the world over. If an in-depth story and detailed character development are what you're looking for, then Quake 3 probably isn't for you. But if you're looking for those shooty good times, then you're in for one heck of a ride. The narrative itself is short to say the least. The greatest warriors of all time fight for the amusement of a race called the Vadrigar in the Arena Eternal. But there's no need for more detail than that, because the whole point of the game is to simply face off against enemies in a number of modes, including free-for-all and team deathmatch. An updated version of the game called Quake Live was released in 2010, refreshing the title for a brand new generation and giving long-time fans of the game a much-needed boost in the graphics department. Though players can play alone against bots, the games are designed to be multiplayer experiences, so both Quake 3 Arena and Quake Live quickly spawned a prolific community, which fans of the game continue to populate to this very day. Number 5, Diablo 2. Long before Blizzard irritated the entire Diablo fanbase with the whole always online Diablo 3 debacle, they were delighting players with the fantastic Diablo 2, which took everything they loved about the series' first game and built upon it. Following on from the plot of the 1997 title, Diablo 2 sees players facing the Lord of Terror as he attempts, yet again, to bring evil upon the land of Sanctuary. After choosing from one of 5 different character classes, Amazon, Necromancer, Barbarian, Sorceress or Paladin, players embark on a 5-act journey to rid the world of the titular wrong'un. Critically acclaimed upon its original 2000 release, Diablo 2 quickly bagged itself a Guinness World Record for being the fastest selling PC video game ever, a title that's now held by its younger sibling Diablo 3. Although Diablo 2 is now over 20 years old and has recently been remastered for a modern audience, the original remains popular among players, with Blizzard continuing to provide a limited amount of support for the title. Whether fans of the original will migrate en masse to the remaster remains to be seen, but regardless, we can't foresee the Lord of Terror making his way back to hell in the immediate future, at least as long as the community stays interested in his exploits. Number 4, Counter-Strike 1.6. You're probably aware that the Counter-Strike Global Offensive community is one of the largest on the scene, but what you might not know is the original game in the Counter-Strike series still has a bustling fan base of its own. Admittedly, the latter is not on the grandiose scale as the former, however there are still many players who much prefer the OG title to the series' most recent outings. Originally developed and released as a Half-Life mod in 1999 by fans Min Lee and Jess Cliff, Counter-Strike 1.6 was later picked up by Valve and fully launched in 2000. The game takes place in a number of locations all around the world, and players assume the role of either a counter-terrorist operation or the radical forces that they seek to eradicate. In order to win a match, they must either comply with the map's win conditions or completely wipe out the opposing team. Though the game has not been without its controversy, most notably receiving a ban in Brazil owing to the alleged subversion of social order that the game and its sequels may or may not incite, Counter-Strike 1.6 has remained a favourite amongst first-person shooter fans, with as many as 20,000 still logging on each month to get a taste of the action. Number 3, EverQuest. I tell you what, this MMORPG business seems to be a lucrative one. Perhaps we should look at launching our own TripleJump MMO, in which players customise their own Warriors avatar and get to explore sunny Newcastle upon Tyne, gathering resources and making fun items. Sadly, Adam is refusing to stump up the cash for the development of World of Warcraft, but that's okay, because we can still get our massively multiplayer online fix with 1999's EverQuest, one of the first MMOs to allow players to explore a fully 3D world. Set on the fantasy world of Norath, EverQuest allows players to create their own character from a smorgasbord of different options, including humans, elves, dwarves, and even frog people. Once that's out of the way, they must then make their way out into the 500 different zones that make up the game world, fighting monsters, undertaking quests, and interacting with other players as they go. Although the EverQuest player base isn't as big as it once was, thanks in large part to the oversaturation of the MMORPG market, so with over 80,000 people logging on to play each month, those new to the game won't be short on company. Number 2, Final Fantasy XI. Owing to all the controversy surrounding Final Fantasy XIV's original release, subsequent closure, and the success of its remake, gamers could be forgiven for forgetting about its MMO predecessor, Final Fantasy XI. It turns out, however, that not everyone has forgotten Final Fantasy XI, as to this day it still has a very active fanbase. Although Final Fantasy XIV currently has more players, 2002's Final Fantasy XI is still attracting thousands of players to its servers every month. Set in the fictional world of Vana'diel, it's up to players to help unite the nations of Sandoria, Bastok, and Windhurst against the resurrected Shadow Lord. Like most fantasy MMORPGs, players can create their own character and level it up by undertaking quests within the game, and by advancing the main plot. They can also have jobs, partake in hobbies such as fishing and chocobo breeding, and participate in the in-game economy by putting items up for auction. Developer Square Enix has continued to add to the game ever since its release in 2002, and to date there have been 8 different expansions and add-on scenarios. Though the console servers have now been closed down, the PC version of the game is still going strong, receiving frequent updates that keep players coming back for more. And number 1, Team Fortress 2. If you were held at gunpoint and told you could only play one game for the rest of your life, then your best bet would probably be 2007's The Orange Box. Not only would you have headline title Half-Life 2, in which Gordon Freeman fights, once again, to liberate the Earth from the clutches of the evil Combine. You'd also get the outstanding puzzler Portal and epic shooter Team Fortress 2. Fortunately, no one has ever threatened us with such a thing, and even though we can play whatever games we'd like whenever we like, we're still very excited that over a decade since its original release, we can still log on and have a crack at some TF2. Like its Orange Box brethren, Team Fortress 2 was received incredibly well by both critics and players, sitting at a very comfortable 92 out of 100 on Metacritic. The great thing about the game, aside from the wonderful gameplay and sense of humour, is that since 2011, it's been free to play, which is probably part of the reason that it's still so well loved. At the time of writing, developer Valve continues to put out frequent updates for Team Fortress 2, providing new features and items to players free of charge. The game is, of course, supported by microtransactions, which can buy players anything from costumes to weapons. But hey, we never said it was perfect.